When a waitress gave a billionaire the wrong formula, it led to this epic 100M secret. In the dimly lit corner of the Ivy Cafe, the tension hung like smoke from an unlit cigarette. People were sipping their lattes, but all anyone could talk about was the legend of Jared Caldwell. Billionaire, genius, and now, a target of a bizarre mix-up that could change his fortune forever. It started like any other Tuesday until Sarah, the waitress with kind eyes and quirky braids, handed him a handwritten napkin instead of the usual formula he requested for his latest tech project. It was supposed to be just coffee, but that napkin held more secrets than the room had tables. The ink was barely dry, the letters swirling in a hasty scrawl that no one could decipher. But what if, just what if, that nonsense was actually a game changer? Jared squinted at it, confusion and intrigue sprouting on his face, making the already breathless patrons lean in closer. Whispers filled the air, gold-plated cameras turned toward Jared, capturing the silent crescendo of this strange interaction that made the hair on the back of everyone's necks stand on end. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the cafe. A shocked, gasping crowd spun in unison to see the source. An espresso machine had erupted, steam shooting like a dragon's breath. For a moment, the commotion buried any trace of the surreal moment unfolding with Jared. He stared at the napkin, his mind racing. Those hurried scribbles, were they truly nonsensical? The way they danced in his mind felt electrifying, as if the universe was dropping a hint just for him. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Heart pounding. Jared didn't realize how long he was staring at that napkin. When he finally looked up, he found the entire cafe fixated on him. Faces wide-eyed, mouths slightly agape. What was so special about simple words jotted down on a piece of paper? Or was it more than that? The waitress, oblivious to the frenzy she had ignited, was busy clearing the now-fallen drink, her back turned to the chaos. As Jared's thoughts spiraled, uncertainty crept in. What lay behind that careless mistake? Could it lead to wealth or disaster? His fingers trembled, clenching around the napkin tighter. The future hung in limbo, and all of a sudden, a melodic laugh broke the tension as a stranger approached him, leaning forward with a smile that suggested she knew a piece of this puzzle. Care to share what's got you so captivated? She asked, a hint of mischief in her tone. What if I told you it could be worth 100 million? Jared shot back, heart racing with both hope and dread. The waitress turned, sensing a storm brewing, and looked at him, confusion in her eyes. This was just the beginning of secrets unraveling where fortunes wove with fates. What would slip past next? Who was this mysterious woman? And more importantly, what did that napkin hold? Jared's heart raced. The stranger's eyes sparkled with an unsettling mix of excitement and danger, pulling him deeper into a web of possibilities he couldn't fully grasp. She leaned closer, her breath a whisper against his ear. You need to be careful. There's more at stake than you realize. Just as confusion wrapped around Jared like fog, the cafe door swung open violently, nearly slamming against the wall. A man burst in, drenched from the rain that had suddenly poured out of nowhere. He was tall, his clothes clinging to his skin, soaked through. Everyone turned to see who this newcomer could be. Had they stumbled into a scene straight out of a dark thriller? The man scanned the room, his gaze locking onto Jared with the intensity of a hawk. There you are, he shouted, voice hoarse and urgent. It was the desperate sort of exclamation that sent shivers down the spines of the cafe patrons. The hustle of coffee mugs and murmurs was replaced by a deafening stillness, shrouded in an unspoken dread. Do you know him? The woman's voice broke the tension, her eyes darting from the soaked man to Jared, searching for answers. Not yet, Jared managed to reply, but his voice sounded foreign to him, strained like a worn-out spring. Jared, you have to listen. They're coming for you. The drenched man shouted, stumbling forward, causing several chairs to clatter over. The cafe filled with gasps, patrons instinctively reaching for their phones, ready to capture whatever drama was unfolding. "Who is coming?" Jared asked, his voice steadying despite his rising heartbeat. He felt the napkin crumpling under his grip, a talisman of fate and danger. "I'm a friend," the man panted, glancing around as if the shadows themselves were listening. "They think you have it." The formula. Confusion pooled in Jared's mind, then crystallized into panic. He took a breath, forcing himself to appear collected. "What formula?" he pressed, eyes narrowing in determination. The man's gaze flicked to the napkin, and Jared followed his line of sight, heart racing at the thought of it. Had the woman been right? Was it more than a ridiculous accident? "They believe you know something about the technology that they're after. They'll do anything to get it back," he warned, the urgency in his voice palpable. "We need to get you out of here." Jared glanced at the woman, who looked torn between disbelief and curiosity. "I need answers." If this is true, his voice trailed off, caught somewhere between hope and fear. Before Jared could decide his next move, the cafe door opened again, this time, even more violently. A group of well-dressed men stormed in, their presence radiating power and menace. "Caldwell," one of them bellowed, scanning the room until his steely gaze landed directly on Jared. Ice gripped Jared's heart. "Run," the drenched man urged, sprinting toward the exit. Instinct kicked in, and Jared sprang into action, hand instinctively reaching for the napkin in his pocket. The mysterious woman hesitated, glancing back at him, caught between understanding and fear. "Are you coming?" Jared shouted as he dashed toward the back, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The woman finally broke into a sprint. His thoughts spiraled. Was this napkin really worth $100 million? Or was he running blindly into disaster? As chaos erupted behind him, Jared couldn't shake the feeling that whatever secrets were hidden on that napkin, they were worth much more than he had bargained for. The echoes of pursuit followed them like predators on the hunt, but he couldn't allow himself to think of the consequences now. What lay ahead could be ruin or redemption. Who was after him? And how did they even know? As they burst through the back door into the rain, a chilling realization struck him. This was just the beginning. What had he genuinely gotten himself into? The rain pounded down like a drum, drowning out the chaos they left behind. Jared's heart thundered in sync with the downpour, each splash a reminder of the stakes that had suddenly thrust him into a frantic escape. He didn't know where the drenched man had gone or if the woman was even still behind him, but the instinct to flee surged within him. "Hey!" a voice called from behind. It was her, the mysterious woman, her dark hair plastered to her forehead as she caught up. "Wait. We can't just run into the storm." Jared skidded to a stop, rain pelting his face. "We have to. They're coming." The realization of their imminent danger gripped him like iron. He glanced back toward the cafe. Shadows moved swiftly inside. The men were organizing, fanning out as if hunting. "What do we do?" she asked, breathless. "Find somewhere to hide. They will be out here any second." Jared scanned the alley, a narrow, grim passage flanked by grimy brick walls. It didn't look inviting, but it was better than being caught out in the open. "This way." They bolted into the dark alley, the water pooling around their shoes. Jared's mind raced, replaying the drenched man's frantic words. "They think I have it." But what was it, the formula? A larger tech secret? He felt the napkin burn against his thigh, a weight he wasn't sure he could bear. "What do you have?" she asked, breathing heavily. He hesitated, shaking off the fog of fear. "I don't know, but if it's worth them hunting me down, it can't be good." "Then we need to figure out what it is," she replied, determination flickering in her eyes. "Let us find somewhere safe to think." Jared led the way deeper into the alley, where murky shadows swam and danced like phantoms. The sound of rapid footsteps echoed behind them, the thud of voices blending into a low roar. The alley twisted and turned, eventually leading them to a rusty fire escape. A metal ladder loomed, beckoning like a lifeline. Without a single moment's thought, he bolted up the rungs, pulling the woman behind him. They scrambled onto a flat rooftop, rain soaking them in an instant. They crouched beside a vent, panting heavily, the adrenaline making their hearts race. Jared pulled out the napkin, holding it in front of them as if it contained the key to life itself. "Okay, we need to look at this. Maybe it'll tell us something." "Open it." she urged, her eyes wide. Glistening with urgency, he carefully unfolded it. A tangle of scribbles and numbers meeting his eyes, fragments of equations, a pattern that seemed to weave in and out of fundamental principles. But there was something off, something hidden in plain sight. I don't get it, he murmured, his fingers trembling, tracing the lines. What does it mean? Maybe it relates to something tangible. A device? A project? She leaned in closer, peering at the page. Their moment of curiosity shattered as a cacophony of voices erupted from the alley below. They went this way? Jared's chest tightened. The men had found their trail. Keep it down, he hissed, panic rising in his throat. Maybe we can go back down the other side of the building, she suggested, her voice low. Not while they're searching, Jared pressed. But there was nowhere else to go. They had nowhere to retreat to except back into the alley, the temptation of the rooftop a dead end. Then inspiration struck. What if we can use this against them? This formula, he said, glancing again at the napkin. What if it's not just a secret, what if it's a weapon? Like a bargaining chip? She looked contemplative. Exactly. If we can figure out how to use it, we might have a chance. But the thudding footsteps grew louder, men's voices closing in. There. Up there. Time to decide, Jared. Either we confront them or keep hiding. He took a deep breath, racing possibilities flashing through his mind like lightning bolts. Whatever was scrawled on that napkin held the sort of power that could change everything. But at what cost? Let us find out just how deep this rabbit hole goes, he said, adrenaline surging inside him as they prepared to slide down the opposite side of the rooftop. Jared faced the unknown. What if they didn't just have hunters on their trail, but an entire agency or more? And as they leaped down, ready to fight or run, one question surged through his mind. What kind of price would they pay to uncover the truth? The time for answers was now. Jared landed hard, the impact jarring through his legs, but he barely felt it. The rain roared around them, a curtain of noise that matched the pounding in his chest. He glanced at the woman beside him, her determination only fueling his own. They sprinted through a maze of back alleys, the shadows of towering buildings looming overhead like giants out to catch them. Over there, she shouted, gesturing to a door half hidden by a stack of crates. It looked abandoned, but he didn't have time to hesitate. They darted inside, the heavy door creaking ominously before slamming shut behind them. The darkness inside was thick and oppressive, but they didn't have the luxury of time to assess their surroundings. Jared leaned against the door, straining to hear any footsteps in the rain. Silence enveloped them for a moment, broken only by their ragged breathing. Do you think they saw us? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Maybe, he replied, trying to maintain a calm front. But we need to figure out what's on that napkin before they catch up. He flicked on his phone's flashlight, casting a beam through the dust and shadows. The room looked like an old storage space, filled with rusty machinery and boxes covered in grime. It felt like stepping into a time capsule. Look, she said, interrupting his thoughts as she pointed to one of the boxes. Curiosity steered him toward it. Together, they tore off the cover, revealing an assortment of ancient, dusty tech pieces. As they sifted through them, Jared couldn't shake the feeling that something about the room was familiar. Wait, he said, holding up a device that looked just like a miniature projector. I've seen something like this before. His mind grappled with the memory. At the cafe, one of the tech guys was messing around with a similar thing. It had the symbol from the napkin on it. Her eyes widened. So they were working on something big. What if this is connected? With renewed urgency, Jared examined the device, flipping it over in his hands. If we can make it work, maybe it'll lead us to whatever it is. Can you fix it? She asked, desperation creeping into her tone. I don't know. I'll try. Placing it carefully on a wooden crate, he rummaged through the other items, searching for power sources, anything that could ignite this forgotten relic. Time slipped away, each tick of the clock felt like a countdown. He felt the weight of that napkin pressing on his heart, a heavy reminder of their fragile reality. Outside, voices began to rise again, their urgency snapping Jared's focus back to the present. They're getting closer. Come on. We don't have much time. She was frantically searching the box as he fiddled with the device, praying it wasn't as dead as the mood in the room. With a final twist, something sparked inside. The device sprung to life, casting a holographic image in the dim light. Jared's breath caught in his throat as equations flared and morphed, revealing the same symbols scribbled on the napkin. No way this isn't just a project. It's a blueprint for a weapon. His heart raced. They're not just hunting me for that napkin. They want this. As urgency filled the air, the voices outside became louder, more aggressive. They're here, Jared yelled, adrenaline pumping through him. He glanced around, looking for an escape route, but the only way was deeper into the decay of the old room. Jared. The woman tugged his sleeve, her eyes darting to the rear exit, a door hidden behind some machinery. We have to move. Now. Without thinking, he followed her, their feet pounding against the concrete. The echoes of their escape intertwined with the storm outside. Just as they reached for the handle, the door creaked open from the other side, revealing a figure cloaked in shadow. Going somewhere? The voice was low and menacing, sending a jolt of fear down Jared's spine. He froze, caught between the unknowns of what lay ahead and the certainty of the danger behind them. As the figure stepped into the light, Jared's pulse raced. This was a game they had no idea how to play, and the rules kept changing. Get ready, he whispered, adrenaline coursing through him like a wildfire. This could be the moment where everything changes. Would they fight? Would they run? The decision loomed before them, and in the tangled web they found themselves in, one question burned brighter than all others. Who was truly pulling the strings? The figure stepped fully into the light, revealing a face Jared recognized from the cafe, an employee with sharp eyes and an even sharper grin. It was Miles, the tech-savvy guy who always seemed to be one step ahead of everyone else. But now, that familiar face bore a sinister edge, a chilling confidence that made Jared's stomach twist. Did you really think you could escape? Miles asked, folding his arms as if he had all the time in the world. You're in way over your heads. Get out of our way, Miles, Jared shouted, his voice hoarse with nervous energy. We're not looking for trouble. Miles laughed, but it was devoid of humor. Trouble found you the moment you stumbled upon that napkin. You have no idea what you're holding. We don't care about your dirty game. The woman interjected, taking a bold step forward. Just let us go. With a flick of his wrist, Miles produced a small remote. Oh, but you do care. This little gadget holds more power than you can imagine. Those equations? They're not just for fun. They're life and death. Jared felt the weight of that statement crash over him. What do you mean? He demanded, his heart racing despite the cloudy air inside the storage room. Miles smirked, pressing a button on the remote. A holographic display erupted from the projector Jared had just activated, illuminating the grimy walls. Jared's heart dropped as images of destruction flashed before him, cities burning, chaos reigning. This wasn't just a weapon. It was a blueprint for mass annihilation. This is what your curiosity has unearthed, Miles taunted, his demeanor shifting from casual to predatory. The powers behind this project needed intact, and they stop at nothing to reclaim it. Shadowy figures materialized in the background of the hologram, their eyes glowing with an ominous light. Jared felt a shiver. Who were they working for? Without warning, a loud crash echoed from the front entrance, jolting them all. They're coming for you, too, Miles taunted, relishing the panic that danced in Jared's eyes. You're part of something much bigger now. The hologram flickered, capturing images of menacing silhouettes marching toward their sanctuary, the sound of their footsteps growing louder. Run, Jared screamed, pushing past Miles as he grabbed the woman's hand, pulling her toward the hidden door. Not so fast, Miles shouted, lunging to block their path. But Jared was fueled by adrenaline, desperation driving him forward. He sidestepped, yanking the door open. The dank air rushed in, slapping them in the face like a wild infestation. They stumbled into another pitch-black corridor. Behind them, Miles shouted, his voice echoing in furious frustration. You can't escape your fate. Jared didn't dare look back. They sprinted down the corridor, hearts pounding, sensing the chaos closing in behind them. The emergency lights flickered to life, casting a cold blue glow that made the looming shadows all the more threatening. Where does this lead? She gasped, fighting to keep pace. I don't know. Just keep moving, Jared replied, forcing himself to think. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the weight of the knowledge they carried pressed down on them from all sides. Suddenly, they rounded a corner, and a locked door confronted them. Jared's breath hitched. What do we do? Break it down, she urged, Her voice laced with urgency. T slammed his shoulder against the door, but it held firm. Panic clawed at him. With another attempt, the door shuddered but didn't yield. The sounds of pounding footsteps echoed down the hall, growing closer with every second. "Get back!" she shouted. With determination, she kicked the door with all her strength, and it buckled open, splintering just enough for them to slip through. They tumbled into a vast warehouse filled with crates and equipment, the scent of rust and oil mingling with the musty air. Jared glanced around desperately. "We have to find a way out of here. They can't catch us." Just as they contemplated their next move, the warehouse lights flickered and buzzed to life, revealing the imposing figure of another man standing at a far exit, silhouetted against the light. "Running away is futile," he drawled, a sinister smile creeping across his face. "You've stumbled into my territory." Jared's blood ran cold as he realized the man was not just anybody. He was the dark heart of the operation they inadvertently entered. The tension in the room thickened palpably as they stood on the precipice of a new nightmare. "Time to choose a side," the stranger whispered, voice dripping with malice. Would they make a choice even if it meant betraying their own morals? Or would they fight against the impending tide? One thing was certain, there was no turning back now. Adrenaline surged through Jared's veins as the man's words hung in the air like an unholy promise. They stood frozen, caught in a web of tension thicker than the warehouse air. The flickering lights cast shifting shadows, adding to the sense of impending doom. "Who are you?" Jared barked, mustering enough defiance to attempt a look of bravery. The stranger stepped forward, details sharpening with each stride. Dark hair slicked back, a perfectly tailored suit that screamed authority. He exuded a charisma that was unsettling. "I'm Victor," he stated matter-of-factly, his gaze piercing through Jared as if reading his very soul. "And I hold the keys to your freedom or your destruction." "What do you mean?" "We just want to leave," the woman pleaded, her voice wavering. "Oh, but you're not listening. It's not about what you want anymore." Victor's smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed too perfect, too calculated. "You're standing in front of the future of mankind, or the end of it." Jared snapped his head towards the looming crates nearby, searching for anything they could use. A side door caught his eye, its outline dimly lit. "We need to get out of here now," he said, already moving toward it. "Running will only buy you a moment," Victor called after him, amusement lacing his voice. "Those who carry the napkin have to face the music. There's no escaping what you've set in motion." They sprinted toward the door, but it swung open just as they reached it, revealing three men dressed in dark gear, faces obscured by black masks. They spilled into the warehouse like a storm, the sheer force of them turning hope into terror. "Jared!" the woman cried, stumbling back. "Get behind me!" he shouted, instinct commanding him to protect her point. One of the masked men lunged, grabbing Jared's shirt. Jared retaliated, sending a wild punch that connected with the man's jaw. The blow rocked him, but he didn't let go. Jared felt panic wash over him as he struggled against the grip, adrenaline firing every nerve. In that split second, the chaos blurred reality. The warehouse became a battlefield of blurred faces and crashing sounds. Someone shouted behind him, "The woman?" And just as he turned, a fist struck his ribs, stunning him for a moment. Jared crashed against a crate, rattling metal and machinery around him. He gasped for air, momentarily dazed. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the woman huddled down, retreating further from the fray. "No!" he yelled, scrambling back to his feet. The hallway loomed, tempting with the promise of escape, but he couldn't leave her behind. Victor stood a few steps back, watching the chaos unfold with an almost childlike glee. "The show has only just begun," he taunted, egging on the attackers. That a growl of defiance erupted from Jared. He pushed through the pain, charging at Victor with newfound fury. In that moment, he became a force of nature, just a guy trying to reclaim their life. But just as he reached Victor, one of the masked men intercepted him, shoving him hard into the ground. Jared lay there, breathing heavily among the crates, fear wrapped around him like a heavy blanket. He could see the woman still trying to crawl away, caught in the jaws of their nightmare. "Take them alive," Victor commanded, his voice cutting through like ice. Panic flared in Jared's chest. What did alive mean to them? "Hey!" the woman shouted suddenly, finding her voice. "We know about the equations. They could change everything. Don't you want that? The masked figures paused, confusion flitting across their features. Victor's eyes glinted as he considered her words, intrigue slicing through the tension. Their lives hung by a thread, a fragile string that could easily snap. Let us see if you're worth more alive, Victor sneered, a dark satisfaction smoothing over his features. Before Jared could protest, the men lunged again, dragging him and the woman apart, their screams merging into a cacophony of panic. Victor stepped back, his smug smile a reflection of fate's cruel twist as the world swirled into chaos around them. Choose now, or else you lose it all, he beckoned, leaving them standing on the precipice of fate. What terrible decision awaited them? Jared's heart raced with an undeniable sense of dread as he fought against the shadows closing in. Jared's pulse thundered in his ears as they pulled him away, the woman's desperate cries ringing out like a haunting melody. He felt his body being wrenched apart, heart racing at the thought of losing her forever. "Stop!" he shouted, voice raw and frantic. The masked men didn't respond. They dragged him backward, pulling him toward the shadows of the warehouse where Victor stood like a puppeteer, delighting in the chaos he had orchestrated. The woman's face was a mere blur now, lost in a swirl of panic, strands of her hair clinging to her cheeks as she turned toward him, eyes wide with terror. "Jared," she gasped, trying to reach him, trembling with fear. "Let her go?" Jared screamed, fighting against the grip of the men. His heart felt like it was being ripped apart, the weight of helplessness crushing down. Victor stepped closer, juxtaposed against the dark figures surrounding Jared. "You see, it's not merely about escaping," he said smoothly, a chilling calmness in his tone. "This is a test, an experiment of sorts. Your precious equation, it's a ticket to power. But do you really understand what that kind of power demands?" The air shifted, a ripple of uncertainty coursing through Jared. What did Victor know? Jared could feel his mind racing, grappling with the implications of the hidden knowledge they carried. "Sacrifice is what it takes to unlock the door," Victor continued, stepping closer, the flickering light casting wicked shadows across his face. "To save millions, to change the course of history, sometimes you have to be willing to lose a few." "Shut up," Jared roared, a desperate surge of anger igniting within him. He lunged forward, but the masked men tightened their hold, almost laughing at the futility of his efforts. In that moment, the warehouse felt more like a tomb. Victor leaned forward, intent and chilling. "You are too late for that, my friend. You've already made your choices, and I'm just here to observe the fallout." His eyes glinted with the kind of power that sent shivers through Jared's core. "Choices?" Jared spat back, acutely aware that time was slipping away. "What choice do we have? You're the one holding all the cards on this twisted table." Victor chuckled, a sound that stirred something dark in the pit of Jared's stomach. But you have a choice right now in your hands." He gestured at the masked men, who ceased their dragging momentarily, eyes fixed on Jared. "Surrender the equation, and I may just let her go." Jared's breath hitched. The equation wasn't just numbers. It was a glimpse into a future they could change. The weight of the world pressed down on his shoulders. He turned towards the woman, who was biting her lip, fear and resolve flashing across her features. "What do we do?" she mouthed, and his heart clenched. "Don't be afraid," he whispered, unsure how they could possibly get out of this alive. Time was running out, he could feel it. Victor's grin widened, recognizing the fear, the indecision. Tick-tock, he taunted. "Your lives tick away with every second you hesitate. Show me your loyalty, or let your companion pay the price." Tension hung thick as Jared swallowed hard, weighing life against responsibility. Could he sacrifice her for the promise of saving many others? An electric silence fell, broken only by the thundering footsteps and muffled voices echoing around them. The world narrowed, zeroing in on his racing heart, and the choice laid bare. With dread pooling in his gut, the final words escaped Victor's mouth, each syllable sharp as a knife. "Your decision will change everything for better or for worse." And just as Jared opened his mouth to speak, the lights flickered violently above, plunging them into shadows once again. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed. Someone had burst through the back door. The whole situation shifted again, chaos erupting anew. What had he just done? As adversaries and allies alike turned sharply, Jared felt the earth shatter beneath him, reality bending in unpredictable ways. The choice still loomed heavy above. Could he really handle the weight of such a decision? Or was it already too late? The sound of footsteps echoed closer, then the door swung open, and all hell was about to break loose. Jared's heart raced as the door crashed against the wall, the hollow sound amplifying the sense of chaos filling the warehouse. A figure emerged from the shadows, silhouetted against the stark light. Everything else faded. Victor, the masked men, and the terrified woman blurred into the background. "Freeze!" the newcomer shouted, voice booming and firm. As the light flickered back on, Jared caught a glimpse of a badge that shimmered on the figure's chest, a law enforcement insignia. "FBI," the agent declared, raising a weapon that glinted menacingly. The masked men faltered, momentarily caught off guard. Jared saw his chance. "Run," he shouted to the woman, his voice filled with raw urgency. "Get out of here now." But she hesitated, torn between love and fear. Her eyes darted toward the agent, then back to Jared. The moment stretched, thick like molasses. Before she could retreat, Victor's laughter sliced through the tension like broken glass. "You think they're here to save you?" His voice dripped with mockery, eyes darkened to a dangerous edge. "They're just as much a part of this mess as I am. Shut him down." The agent barked to his team. The masked men surged forward as gunfire erupted. Jared ducked instinctively, adrenaline flooding his veins. The woman was caught in the crossfire, panic overtaking her. "No." Jared surged toward her, throwing himself between her and the chaos. He grasped her wrist, their fingers intertwining in a desperate bid for safety. "We have to go?" He pulled her, heart hammering, barely registering the chaos around him. Victor, however, was unyielding, barking orders to his men. "Get them. They can't possess the equation." He was a conductor in this symphony of disorder, reveling in the chaos, eyes alight with a twisted glee. In that instant, Jared felt the weight of the decision settle back on his shoulders. He needed to make a move. Could he trust the agents? What if they were in on it too? "Follow me, trust me," Jared urged the woman. They sprinted toward a narrow opening at the back of the warehouse, where the shadows swirled thickest. Behind them, shots rang out, ricocheting off the walls like thunder. Jared felt a cold blast of fear grip him, but he pushed it down, focusing only on the next step. They launched through the opening, the dim light giving way to an alleyway. Breathless, Jared turned to gauge the woman's face. "Are you okay? We have to keep moving." But dread pooled in his stomach as he realized something vital. "What about the equation?" he murmured. In his haste, he had lost the slip of paper that contained their last hope. "Jared, look out!" she shrieked just as a shadow loomed behind him. Jared turned, instinctively raising his arms, but it was too late. The masked man lunged, tackling him to the ground, and all the air rushed from his lungs. He gasped, the world spinning as shock pulsed through him. The woman screamed, her voice filled with raw panic, but Jared was trapped, pinned beneath the weight of the assailant. With every ounce of strength, he fought back, heart pounding, but the world was closing in. "Get off him!" The agent's voice sliced through the cacophony, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoing as he raced toward them. Jared glanced back at the woman, eyes wide and filled with terror. "Run," he managed to spit out, feeling helpless as darkness hovered just out of reach. But something shifted. The masked man stilled, eyes flickering with uncertainty, caught between two worlds. In that moment, Jared felt the tension build, like a rubber band stretched just to its breaking point. His breath quickened, desperation pooling in the pit of his stomach, the weight of responsibility pressing against him. "You can't let him take us." The agent barreled forward, the masked man hesitating for just a heartbeat longer. Jared could feel the tides turning, and he seized the moment. "We can't give up. Fight." Then, everything exploded around them, the agent moving in, shots firing again. In the blink of an eye, decisions had to be made, and futures teetered on the edge. Would they escape, or was it too late for any of them? As the echoes of chaos intensified, one question lingered in the air. How far would Jared go to save the woman he loved? The masked man hesitated, a flicker of confusion across his face as the chaos closed in. For a heartbeat, Jared saw an opening. "Now!" Jared roared, pushing against the weight of the attacker. The agent had closed in, gun drawn, but Jared's voice was a thunderclap in the storm. If they were going to stand a chance, they needed to strike fast. With a surge of energy, Jared threw the masked man off, rolling away. He scrambled to his feet, breathing heavily, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The agent was close now, resolute and unyielding, but Jared felt a bond form with him in that split second. "Get her to safety," the agent yelled, his voice a crack of lightning. He kept his weapon trained on the masked man, ready to fire. Jared turned to the woman, eyes wild, and saw the resolve bloom on her face. "Let us go," he shouted, grabbing her hand, pulling her away from the fight. They ducked into another alley, the sounds of the warehouse fading into the background. They sprinted, breathless and gasping, the distant echo of gunfire growing quieter. Everybody was competing for survival now, and Jared pushed forward, dragging her into the unrelenting night. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice trembling, unsteady. Shadows painted her features, but Jared could see her fear manifesting in the way she chewed her lip. "I don't know," he admitted, wiping sweat from his brow. "But we can't stop. We need to find the equation. We can't let Victor get it." He moved with purpose, navigating through the empty streets, adrenaline pumping. But doubt grazed his mind. What would happen next? They weren't safe yet. A sudden crash sounded behind them, followed by shouts. The masked men were close, hunting them down like a pack of wolves sensing prey. "Faster," he urged, gripping her hand tighter. As they turned a corner, they faced a dead, and a high brick wall loomed ominously above them, solid and impenetrable. Panic flickered in Jared's eyes. "We have to find a way over." The woman pointed at a fire escape ladder bolted to the wall. "There. Climb." He hoisted her toward the lowest rung. She scrambled up the ladder, fear evident, but determination pushing her forward. Jared followed, adrenaline driving his every movement, arms straining to reach the rungs as the echoes of pursuit grew louder. They burst onto the rooftop, panting, exhilaration mingling with dread. The woman leaned against the edge, peering down, her eyes wide. "Jared, they're coming." His heart lurched. He turned, gazing back toward the alley below. Shadows moved rapidly, headlights flashing as vehicles neared. "We can't stay here," he said, feeling the pressure rise again. A thought hit him. "We need to find the others. They must know where Victor is." But the moment he spoke, panic flickered in her eyes. "If we go back down, trust me," he urged urgently. "We need answers. We can't let fear rule us." Taking her hand, they descended the ladder carefully. When they hit the ground, the air crackled with tension. Each step felt like a drumbeat, echoing through shadowed streets. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught Jared's eye, a figure slipping through a nearby alley. "Who is that?" he whispered. As they peered cautiously, the figure turned, and thrill shot through Jared when he recognized it. It was Emma, an ally who had helped them before. "Emma," he called, a wave of relief flooding through him. But as she stepped closer, her expression twisted with worry. "There's no time. They know you're here," she panted, glancing over her shoulder. "Who?" Jared demanded, urgency gripping him. "Victor's men," she gasped, breathless. "They're hunting for the equation." In that instant, a realization hit him hard. What if the equation wasn't just a piece of paper? What if it was something more, something Victor would stop at nothing to retrieve? Emma started, but was cut off by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching, voices overlapping in a lethal symphony. Jared's mind raced. "Where's the equation?" he demanded, heart pounding. "Time is running out. If we don't move now." A sharp clap reverberated through the air nearby. The ground beneath them trembled, and a flash of light illuminated the alley. Panic squeezed his chest. "Run!" And as they darted back into the shadows, the chase was on, the stakes higher than ever. Everything hinged on their next move. Would the equation be their salvation or their doom? The answer spun wildly between hope and fear as they vanished into the night, for steps ahead of chaos. For now. In the heart of the storm, they dashed through the rain-slicked streets, the weight of the world pressing down heavily on Jared's chest. Emma's presence added a flicker of hope, but the panic swirling around them was palpable. They hadn't escaped yet. If Victor found them, everything they were fighting for would vanish. "Where's the equation?" Jared urged, breathless, as they rounded another corner. Emma's face was taut with anxiety, eyes darting toward every shadow. She turned to him, urgency etched deep in her features. I don't have it, but I know where to find it. It's with Miles, back at the warehouse. She gasped, the reality of their situation washing over them like the continuous cascade of raindrops. If we can get it back, we can stop this madness. Jared's heart raced. They had to go back? The very idea made dread coil within him. But they were out of options, time slipping through their fingers like sand. Okay, he said, determination hardening in his voice. We do this, and we do it quickly. They moved through alleyways, their feet slapping against puddles, adrenaline coursing through their veins. As they approached the warehouse, a strange mix of fear and resolve washed over him. The enormity of their task loomed ahead like a storm cloud, pressing down with an intensity that left him feeling small and insignificant. The warehouse loomed, a silent sentinel in the night. Jared couldn't shake the heaviness in his gut. Would Miles still be there? Would Victor find them before they figured everything out? Emma took his arm, a grounding presence. We need a plan, she whispered urgently, her eyes darting toward the entrance. We can't just charge in. Jared nodded, scanning the layout. The warehouse looked the same, but the stakes had shifted immensely. Whoever was after the napkin wouldn't just come for it. They'd come to ensure he wouldn't get it back. Each moment felt like a countdown, the clock ticking louder in his mind. Let us create a diversion, he suggested, pointing to a stack of crates. I can knock those over. It might buy us time. Emma's eyes lit up with agreement. I'll get to the side entrance. When I see the distraction, I'll head inside and find Miles. Be careful, he warned, the lump in his throat threatening to choke him. She nodded, and in that moment, they both understood the gravity of their mission. With a silent count of 3, they separated. Jared moved to the crates, adrenaline flooding his system. As he tipped the crates, a loud crash echoed through the air, the sound reverberating off the warehouse walls like thunder. He heard footsteps scramble inside, but he didn't wait. Now, he shouted as he wormed his way toward the side entrance, heart pounding. He caught a glimpse of Emma slipping inside, her face set with fierce determination. Inside, the ticking clock became louder. Miles stood in the middle of the chaos, eyes widening as he spotted Jared. You shouldn't have come back. Panic mingled with anger. Jared saw glimpses of masked men gathering around, already alerted and ready to pounce. Where's the equation? Jared yelled, moving closer, desperation rising. Miles smirked, shrugging as if to test Jared's resolve. You really think you can take it back? You'll have to fight for it. Jared could feel the weight of the situation gagging him. Fear threatened to cloud his judgment, but he pushed it aside. This wasn't just for him, this was for everyone at stake. Before Jared could respond, Emma appeared behind him, out of breath but alive. What's the plan? We can't let them get the upper hand. Jared locked eyes with her for a split second, seeing the clarity reflecting in her gaze. He couldn't falter now. Get ready for anything, he whispered, mustering every ounce of courage. We need that equation. As the masked men approached, Jared sprinted forward, determination blazing in his chest. Let us go. A wild melee erupted. Jared fought with everything he had, throwing punches, dodging fists. Their surroundings became nothing but a blur of fists and flying limbs. Miles watched with a twisted grin from the edges, enjoying the clash. Amidst the cacophony, Jared felt something shift. With a heightened sense of purpose, he caught a glint of metal from the corner of his eye. The equation. I see it. He bellowed, breaking away from the fray, lunging toward a table stacked high with papers. Emma followed closely. They needed the formula to turn the tide. But the masked men were relentless, lunging for them with sheer ferocity. With a quick sweep of his arm, Jared knocked papers aside and grabbed the napkin, holding it aloft like a banner of hope. I have it, he shouted, adrenaline surging through him like wildfire. Suddenly, Victor appeared, anger blazing in his eyes. You'll regret this. But they didn't wait. Emma grabbed the napkin out of Jared's hands, determination shining in her eyes. We need to expose their plan. Go. Now, Jared shouted, backed against the wall, preparing to block the masked men. Emma sprinted away. The masked figures advanced, but Jared stood firm, heart pounding, hands ready for a fight. Get out of here, he yelled after her, urging her on. The guards were closing in, and he felt the weight of responsibility squarely on his shoulders. They'd made it this far. He couldn't let her down now. As she reached the exit, he turned, fists clenched. "You won't get away with this," he shouted defiantly, willing the words to hold power. With determination firing through him, he left everything else behind as he sprinted for the exit, running for the unknown. He followed Emma out into the storm, hearing the chaos behind him simmer down, the weight of their mission ahead heavy with possibility. Finally, under the blanket of rain, freedom washed over him like a cleansing tide. They had the secrets, the equations that Victor wanted. Emma turned to him, breathless but shining with hope. "We can still stop this," she promised, redoubling her grip on his arm. "Yes," Jared agreed, feeling the surge of purpose ignite within him. They weren't powerless together, they would fight back. As the rain drummed around them, the air hummed with tension, but beneath it all lay a flicker of hope. In that moment, they finally embraced their destiny. No backing down. Their journey was far from over, but now they had each other. Standing in the storm, every drop resonated with the silent promise of resilience, a promise that this was just the beginning of rewriting their story. Things would change. They would reclaim their lives. And as they turned to face the unknown horizon, the untold secrets that danced in the shadows awaited their valiant challenge. Now, it's your turn to take action. You need to smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these stories alive. Don't wait even one more second to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive tales from this adventure. Flood the comments section with your reactions, theories, and questions. Let us keep the conversation going. And remember to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.